All right, everyone, welcome to the 6-month summary of selling weekly Lottos. All right, this one I'm making special because I get a lot of questions. The main question is, how do I choose my options? So, what decisions am I making to choose those, to decide on those specific options? So, I want to go through that with you. But first, I want to show you the results, especially for any new people that haven't been watching the last 26 weeks, to show you the overall results of what I got in the last 6 months. So before I show you this, just remember, this was a bull market. This was, the market was just going up for 6 months straight, barely any dips, and if there were, they get bought up quick. So I do still want to see what happens in a market that's not as forgiving. Okay, some unfavorable conditions. But let's go ahead and check out the new sheet, all right? Bazam! So as you can see here, I changed everything. I used to have 1 week at a time individually, and I moved everything to quarters, all right? It's not as easy to do as I thought, so I hope the Excel lovers can at least appreciate it, all right? But if you do want to see the full individual weeks, let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. All right, so a lot going on. If you want to see all of my posts, everything I made a video on in written form, you can check my Substack. It has all the same spreadsheets and all the charts and everything, just in a reading format. All right, and that's all for free, by the way. I don't charge for my Substack. All right, let's go back to the quarterlies. All right, so main thing I'm looking at is my quarter 2 was a lot better than my quarter 1, and I think by then I was kind of getting my footing right. I was getting like my my groove. All right, but also down here you can see that a lot more covered calls got assigned in quarter 2, and I think that's where I made most of my money. So I just bought the shares a week before, and I sold a covered call way higher, and the stock actually went up like 5 or 10%, and those got assigned. So even if I only got $100 for the contract, let's say I bought 100 shares for 100 each, $10,000, and I sold a covered call for 120, and I got like $100 for that covered call. And if it eventually gets assigned, I would have to sell those 100 shares that I got for 100 each at 120 each. So that's like $2,000 in profits from the shares. So that's where I think I got most of the income. All right. But as you can see, I made $40,000 almost using $132,000 in collateral average. And that's 30% total yield. All right. So that's the numbers I'm going to have to go forward, like challenging myself. I'm competing against myself with those numbers. All right. So let's talk about exactly what goes on in my head. Now, before I talk about this, I want to just let you know that I'm not saying that I make the best decisions ever. I'm not saying I'm the best trader in the world, the best option seller. I'm just saying that this is what I did the last 6 months to achieve those results you just saw. All right. The thing is, I could do this exact same thing that I'm about to tell you the next 6 months, and I can lose because the market might not be as forgiving. It might not be easy mode the next 6 months. So although this worked the last 6 months, there's still no telling if this is what's going to work for the future in perpetuity. All right, so just keep that in mind. This is just what I did and might not be the best thing to do for the future. All right, so first thing first, all right, you gotta accept that you could lose everything. Okay, this is going back to the roots of basic investing. You just gotta come to terms that you could lose it all, that your investment account could go to zero. Once you understand that, you're free, okay? You're free from the anxiety, all right? You just accept it. could lose it all right? So once I decide how much I'm willing to lose, I'm gonna be a cool guy and call it position sizing, all right? All the cool kids call it position sizing, all right? That's how much you're willing to risk, right? So once I decided that, then I choose the stock that I want to risk my money on, that I want to throw my money in the garbage on, okay? Something for me that's kind of fundamental. I want to look at good earnings, good growth, and good stock price over time. That's going to show me that this company, even if I take a short-term hit against like a bad, news or bad market conditions, long-term, they could weather the storm and they could come out ahead. All right. So that's what I'm looking for. Something that I can basically hold forever, potentially. All right. Once I decide on that stock, then I look at the options and the share price. So let's go ahead and take a look at NVIDIA. All right. Now, these are old numbers. I took the screenshots like a few days ago and everything's changed now. So all the current numbers are different, but as far as a reference to what I'm about to talk about goes, these work as an example. All right, so let's take a look at NVIDIA options. I'm just gonna throw everything on the screen, all right? Then you can pause and look at them, all right? Oh yeah! All right, so we'll bring those back, but the basic options that I found, okay, my guidelines, first of all, my guidelines are that I want to make 0.5% to 1% yield on 100 shares, all right? And they gotta be at least 1% out of the money, all right, from the current share price, all right? So the ones that I found were the 175 and 170 puts and the 195 and 200 calls, okay? The share price is at 185. So those are sufficiently far away and the premiums on those options fit my 0.5% to 1% guidelines, all right? Now, after I find those, now I gotta narrow those down to which one or two that I wanna choose, okay? This is when I look at implied volatility, liquidity like volume and open interest, and theta and delta. All right. So first thing we're going to look at is implied volatility. All right. Let's pull up a couple of those options I showed right there. All right. So you'll see right at the top. Now look at all my chart, not the charts, but the options pages on Robinhood. It makes it really easy. All right. So you can see at the top there, there's 46 and like 41, 42, all right? So I'm gonna choose the 46. Now, this number here, this is a 1 year number. This is the implied volatility for 1 year. So math warning up ahead, all right? To find the time-adjusted volatility, you need to do the following equation, okay? The square root of the time left multiplied by the implied volatility gives you the time adjusted volatility. All right. So the most annoying part is the square root. Okay. So I already know this by memorization, but the square root of 1 divided by 52, because there's 1 week left in the contract, or 1 week out of 52 weeks in the year, that square root is 0.1387. All right, don't ask me for any more square roots, guys. I'm not a hedge fund manager. I don't want to sell these options and then go skateboarding. All right, so all we do is that 0.1387 multiplied by the implied volatility, we'll use 46%, and that gives you about 0.0638 or something. We'll just round that up to 0.064. All right. What this is telling me is that within 1 week, the options market is giving an expected like range of 6.4% plus or minus from the share price, which is 185. So all we got to do is 185 times 1 plus 0.064 and 185 times 1 minus 0.64, and that gives you about 196, 197 on the upper end, and then 173, 173, 174 on the lower end. All right, so that's the range. All right, now very interesting that those numbers actually happen to be right where I set my guidelines, right? The 170, 175, 195, 200. All right, so just from this, I've pretty much already decided that I'm going to go with the 170 puts or the 200 calls because they fall outside of that implied volatility range. All right, but I'm going to look at a couple other things. All right, let's pull up the options again. All right, so you'll see here there's the open interest and the volume. All right, now not much change here between the two. Nvidia's pretty good, you're safe on that, but there's some options where there's like almost nobody trading them, and the bid-ask spreads are going to be really wide. So I'm going to like not really do those. I'm going to always favor options that have a higher volume and open interest because those bid-ask spreads are going to be narrower, which means that you're going to have more chance to get out or get in and be safer that way. All right, so the 170 here is actually still higher than the 175, but if the 175 was higher than the 170, I might choose the 175. All right, and then the last thing I want to look at is the theta and the delta. So the theta and delta, this is going to show me if times on my side as the seller or if times on the buyer's side. So I want theta to be higher than delta. All right, that's very simple. Now, I don't really look at this too much because with 1 week left to expire, the options already have good theta times mostly on your side already, but I will favor any options that have theta more than delta. All right, and that's basically it. At the end, I've decided that the NVIDIA 170 put is the one for me, so I've decided to throw $17,000 in the garbage for it to possibly become $17,100 next week when I pick it up, or it could become $0 if aliens from outer space decide to take over this week in particular, or anything in between, 0 to 17,100. All right. Now it might seem like a lot, but these days it takes me about 5 minutes to lock down a weekly contract from all of that I just showed you. Okay. And that's pretty much it, guys. So just to conclude, remember this all happened when the market was pumping hard after the tariff crash. It just kept going up, tiny dips that get bought up, and so this is still wait and see. I want to see what happens when the market does go to hard mode and how this works out. So I will be comparing my last 6 months results to my next 6 months results and keep you updated. All right. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Criticize me however you want. I'm not sensitive. Give me advice, suggestions. I'm happy to hear it. And other than that, I will see you next week. All right. Take care.